Hey guys, welcome to another episode of our Full Stack Hono series. And today is episode 3. We'll be looking at creating our first CRUD API using Hono. And the objective behind this is basically being introduced to building APIs using Hono. And we're going to be focusing on a task management API. So that basically just includes being able to create a task, update a task, um, delete a task, and read task. So I will share this information, but the reason why we are building an API is because APIs are essential to every sort of application, and so or like CRUD APIs. So being able to understand how to create, read, update, and delete forms a very crucial part of building an API. So that's why we're going to be looking at that. The lesson will sort of include like data handling, so managing data, interacting with the database, and applying logic to our Hono series. Key concepts we'll cover together will be how to set up your Hono application. So building off of the previous episode where we sort of built out the layout for Hono, we're going to just use that template and then build from there onwards. Um, we will see Hano in use in terms of its sort of lightweightness, how fast it is, that sort of thing. We'll be understanding the CRUD features a lot better. Something that's quite exciting is we're going to be interacting with the database as well. So that's something I'm looking forward to. Very high level from a project architecture point of view. We have our Hono app, which would basically just be our business logic and our APIs, and then we have the client, which is just like our HTTP request. So like your Postman being able to make requests and see responses, that sort of thing, and then lastly, we have our database layer, which basically just is the database, all the data that we have. We're going to be using SQLite for now, and the goal would be to then move over to like Postgres, like in the future. Um, Key features of our application would be being able to again create a task, so that's a post request, being able to get a task, which is a get request, being able to get a specific task, so get task one, get task two, being able to update a task, so update task one to complete or incomplete, and also just removing. So again, the full sort of like CRUD experience. So this is how it looks. And from a database point of view, this is how our table is going to be structured. So we're just going to have a task table, a very simple table. That's our entity. We're going to have an ID. We're going to have a title for every task, and every task will also have a description and a status. Um, yeah, and then lastly, we just have the steps, how we're going to go about building it. We're going to set up our code base. We're going to create our routes. We're going to connect to our DB, and we're going to test our API out. So just from a technologies point of view, we have Hono, we have Drizzle ORM, we have SQLite, which is our database, Node.js is our server, Postman, or I'm going to use standard clients to just test my endpoints. So that sort of thing. Learning outcomes would be basically creating how simple, understanding how to create a CRUD API using Hono, understanding how to work with an ORM like Drizzle, and then testing and validating your APIs. And then we'll be able to, in the next episode, after we sort of code it out together, we'll be looking at adding some more features to it, like complex stuff like user, um, like assigned to kind of like tasks, that sort of thing, authentication, error handling, all of those sort of things. So looking forward to it. This is the outline, but I will share this as well. And yeah, let's dive into it. Hey guys, welcome to the coding section of our tutorial series. So the first thing we need to do is we need to essentially install a couple of dependencies to allow us to set up our code. So what I'll do is I've got some of the tools here. Let me do this, copy this, paste this. And basically these are some of the dependencies we need. What we'll do is install Drizzle ORM, which is our object relational mapper. This allows us to interact with our DB. Beta SQLite 3 is just the version of SQLite that we'll use in the application. .env is an environment. variable sort of like package that allows us to sort of read our environments. There is some other tools as well, so I've got this installed, so I will just cancel it, don't need to run it. I'll paste that as well. So once you install that, install this also. I mean, this should come, TSX should come with Hono, I believe, but these are dev dependencies, and that Drizzle kit will allow us to, again, just a set of utilities to support Drizzle integration, so that sort of thing. Once we've installed this, we are not good to go just yet. We need to also add this types at better SQLite 3. So you're gonna do something like this, and then you just paste that also. So yeah, you may have types complaining on your side, but yeah, we have to do this. Once we've installed and set up that, we can then create our environment variables. The first thing we'll do is we're just going to give the name of our environment variable here, and we're going to point it to be where the database will sit. So in this case, it's going to be in the database, and there's a new file called db.sqlite. So that's our database. In here, I will also have an index.ts, which will just create sort of the instance for our database, and then I will have a schema.ts, and that will just define the shape of our actual table. So let me just do this. I've got this code here on the screen, so I'll just do this. So what that does is this just basically creates an instance for our database for us to then use SQLite. And then for the schema, again, the schema is the shape we're sort of defining in our code. So this basically says, okay, cool, we're creating a tasks table. We're giving it an ID, title, and a description, and a status. We're saying that the ID is a primary key, that sort of thing. And then after this, we need to now create a drizzle.config.ts file, and this basically will have our configurations set up for Drizzle. So let me just do this. What this does is basically just configures our Drizzle configuration. We need to have an output directory here, so let me do something like this. Create a Drizzle, and then the schema basically will exist in the source database. Schema.ts, that's fine. SQLite, we have to make sure our environments are set up perfectly, and then once this happens, we should be good to initialize or set up our database. So the first thing I'll do is, let me go to the package.json file. You can update your scripts to include these two commands, and so I'll just run this. What this then does, this just generates a database, runs the script, and make sure everything is fine. So, and it should create some sort of thing inside this Drizzle folder as well. So, which would basically just be the script for our table. So let me just do this, npm run, and then we'll see if everything has been set up correctly. Let me save this. We should have a success response. No schema changes, nothing migrate. Okay, cool. It doesn't pick up drizzle.config.ts. Did I save this? Oh, I didn't save my schema, my bad. Okay, nothing. Okay, so let me do this. Let me cancel this, and then I will run it again because it's picking up nothing because this file wasn't saved. My bad. So once this is ready, let me run it again, and then in the meantime, let me prepare my second command, which is migrate. now that I've saved the actual schema, it should have an updated, uh, something should happen. Perfect. So we'll see this one table basically just telling us that we have a snapshot of our database, and this basically is what we've created. We've created a task entity, which is what we basically did. Perfect. So once this happens, you know that everything is good so far. We then need to now run the migrate command. You see this database is still empty here, and database is so empty here. Let me 4 columns. Once this is done, then let me run this. Oh no, I need to do npm run, and then okay, so let's run the migrate command and see. We should have, okay, migrations applied. That looks good. I want to restart this. It looks like, so let's try to open our SQL file. So we should see something. There we go. So that lets us know that something has been edited here. Let me refresh. Okay, refresh that, and then what we'll see here is we have a task table which has been created with these fields that we've basically done here. So a way we can actually interact with the database directly is with the studio command. So let me do this. Npm run studio. Let's see if this runs, hopefully, otherwise I'll just be able to copy this command. And this basically just runs like a Drizzle kit studio, which should just show us our database kind of like in real time. Then we can add entries in our database using Drizzle kit, which is pretty cool. So hopefully this is set up fine, and what this should do is this should set up a different server that's going to exist, that will give us an endpoint that we can access on our side. So it should be fine. Cool. So let me just do this, and then we have to basically copy this and put it into our client or our browser, and then I will show you an example once I have it on my side. Yeah, I actually want to just give a shout out to Aaron Saunders. He actually had a video that helped a lot in terms of how to set up this on his side. So I'm gonna just add a link to his YouTube channel as well. He actually helped with his tutorial. So thanks for that, Aaron. And yeah. So once this happens, we will. Okay, I just need to basically launch. Let me launch demo. What do I do? So this is an example of what Drizzle Studio looks like. So you can see we have our tasks table set up fine. We can add a new task from here. We can say, let me say title, go outside, description, we need to go outside to take out the bin, the trash bin, and then default. Did I have this correct? Let me see, pending. Let me save. Cool, as you can see, ID1 is automatic. Go outside, and then the description is, make sure update this, take out, clean up. save that, and then perfect. So now you can see in our database we have one task labeled cleanup, descriptions, we need to go outside, and this is pending. So that's an example of what Drizzle Studio looks like. So we've actually set up our database. We can create, update, delete, at least from the Drizzle Studio. And what we now need to do is we need to now create our endpoints on our side, create the actual logic for us to do this here on a code level. So looking forward to that. Okay, now that we're able to interact with our database, we need to write some logic in our API to interact further with our database through our actual backend. What I'll do is I need to create a tasks endpoint to fetch all tasks. So it will look something like this, but this is not correct. Let me just do this. I've copied the code. So this basically should fetch all tasks and return to us all tasks on our side. So how I test that is I will just do this. I go to hello world. I'll just be able to make a request to the /tasks endpoint, and you can see that now we have 3 tasks that are in our database. This is the one we created together, and that I created myself. Cool, that's perfect. So now we can fetch all tasks. We need to be able to get an individual task. So remember, find all, and this is basically to get a particular task. So this just takes a task ID and it should just return the task. So what we're doing is we're just saying go to the database, select everything from the task table where the task ID matches the ID that we are giving in. So find the matching ID, and remember it's a number because it's an integer. We have to cast it to be a number, and then what that then does is that just says, okay, if they match, return the task or find the task, and then we should have it. So let me just restart my server, and then now I just need to be able to pass in the /tasks /1 to return the first task. So here I will do something like this, tasks /1, and I should just get cleanup. If everything was fine, perfect. So now we only have one task because we've given it that, and let's pass in 2. We should have 2. Let's pass in 3, and we have 3 tasks. Perfect. So that's the task 2 that has to be changed. So now we need to write update and delete. So I've got logic for update here. Let me go here, do this update. What this basically does is it takes in also a task ID. So I want to update a particular task ID, and then what I'm now giving it is title, a new description, and a new status. And then I'm going to run the db.update, which basically just updates our database entry. It sets the task to be the new title, the new description, and the new status based on the matching task ID. So let me do that and see. So what we should do is, let me save this, and then let me restart this, and then let me do this, and then let me go to Postman, and then I'll change this to be a put request. Let me just make sure it's a put request, correct. So some take task ID, and I want to say body JSON. Let me do this. What I'll do is I'll say title will now be task 3 dated. Let me say description. This is a new description, and then I'll just update these 2, and then let me send the request. Perfect. So now we have a new title called task 3 updated, and new, this is a new description. So a new description as well. Perfect. We just need to do delete, and then our API is complete. So let me just do this. Come here, and then let me do this. And this basically works exactly the same way. It just takes in a task ID, but then it removes it. So let me do this. It's actually reloading, so I don't need to restart my server. And then we're just gonna have a message after it gets deleted saying that the task has been removed successfully. So fingers crossed everything goes well, and then we have our task management app backend set up. Cool. So let me go here, and then let me do delete. So now let me delete 2 because I updated this. And then perfect, task removed. So now to test it, we can now change this to be a get request and say fetch all tasks. There should be 2 tasks now instead of 3. Perfect. So ID2 has been removed, and there we go. So this is an example of our task management app. We've basically built an API that can interact with the database, and we're able to write logic in our API to then say, can I get, can I remove, can I update, and can I delete. Same thing. Yeah, so this is how it works, and moving forward, we're going to just be making our API a lot more advanced by adding additional features and all of that stuff. So thank you for following along, and yeah, see you next